All right, everybody, what's going on? What's going on? Hope you all are doing well. Oh, man. All right, I should just stop messing with it. Okay, listen, I am a little bit behind, which is funny because 31? 31? I thought I moved it to. Fuck. 30? I thought I moved it to 3 or 4:45. I guess I got that wrong. Okay, let's add them. Let's add them. I swear I had it at 45, but maybe I misremembered. All right. All right. All right. It's not 31. It is 30. It is 30. Let us add this real quick. We're at 63. 63. See, now that we don't have, now I've got some buffer. So I will be, now I've got some buffer. Stream scheduled for 3:30. Okay, I fucked up then. All right, hold on. My phone is just not wanting to charge right now. Give me a second. I kind of need it charged at the moment. This doesn't fuck up the camera. Okay. Hopefully this works. Alright. Looks like it's charging. No, it's not fucking charging. Alright. Should be good now. Alright, everybody. Is this our... No, this is not our first stream of the new year, right? This is our second stream of the new year? Is this second? Second stream of the new year. We streamed on Monday. But... it's our first, I would say, opportunity to finally start talking about the future of the story again. What's happening next? Sorry, give me 1 second here. Let me set up everything. Yeah, we're going to do another chapter prediction stream. It feels like it's been so fucking long since we've done a chapter prediction stream. It really feels like a very, very long time. Well, let me play some mental catch up. I didn't even realize because I think, you know what's funny? So I'd had the stream scheduled for the right time. I had it scheduled for 5 p.m. EST, and then I felt very overconfident, so then I moved it forward. No, it's not 32 late points. Yeah, I was 50. I'm not, okay, people are trying to give me an extra point. There's not an extra point. Here, I can show you guys. All right, we got to do this thing. I don't know why I'm fighting for this 1 point. But, we'll just do it. We'll do it to do it. All right, look. Look, you can see how long I've been live, right? So I've been live for 3 minutes, 13 seconds. It's been live for 3 minutes, 13 seconds. So it will hit the 4-minute mark here before it turns to 5:05 EST. So just keep that in mind. I'm not giving myself the extra point. I'll fight for that 1 point. All right. Actually, it's probably pretty close, though. Sean Easton, good to see you, man. Prediction, we get Loki setting out to sea and his conflict with Shanks. I think that is a very, very solid prediction. It's very, very likely. Okay. I don't know if we're going to see the conflict with Shanks, but I'm going to hold you to, we need both, basically. All right, so hold on. So this is going to hit 4 minutes, or I think so. 4 minutes. Yeah, see, I beat the thing. All right, so... We're fine there. I only get 30 points, not 31. Yeah, let's just get the predictions going. All right, hold on. All right. What chapter are we on now? 1171. All right. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So, oh my god, where'd it go? The fuck? Oh, I did the wrong thing. I swear I changed this shit a second ago. Alright. There we go. All right, so Sean Easton said we get Loki setting out to sea in his conflict with Shanks. I figure that's like the main juicy prediction that people are gonna have, right? Because that's what we know happens next. So for this, because it feels like a little bit too easy, I'm only gonna give it to you, Sean, if you get both of these right. We get Loki setting out to sea and his conflict with Shanks. So we need both for me to give you that one, if that's okay. Oh, whoops, wrong thing. Wrong thing. Here we go. First, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up to 50. Sid P says, I think it's time to admit that you're never going to do a Wano analysis after the raid failed theory drama cost you deeply. No, that's not correct. I am going to do the Wano analysis. What? I don't What? You guys think I'm not going to do the Wano analysis? I'm doing the Wano analysis. It's coming. Goomba Boomba, thanks for the 2. Review your 2025 bingo and do a new one. That's on Monday. So that's actually Monday's stream. So Monday, everybody watch out. We're doing a stream for 2026 bingo. And we'll be reviewing everything from 2025. Also, let's get the stream likes up to... Yeah, let's get the stream likes up to 50. Sean Easton says, y'all, we're probably going to have Loki decide to preserve Harold's legacy. Should have guessed that. Hey, I can give you that too, man. First of all, this is from Sean Easton. And then Loki deciding to preserve. I feel like that's actually too easy. I'm going to say that's too easy. You're taking all the low-hanging fruit. We're going to... I think the bold prediction would be if somebody predicts that Loki doesn't do that and the Giants just blame him anyway. And for some reason... Shanks and Gabon don't clear his name. Oh, there's no face cam. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. What the hell? What is the video device? My bad. Hold on. Thanks. Okay. Come on. What the hell? Okay. What's going on here? Oh, it's just, I see. Don't worry, everybody. Don't worry. This is a simple fix. There we go. I'm pretty good at tech now, huh? I can solve this stuff pretty easily. Tiptia Treviso, thanks for the 5, man. So with the Holy Knight's weakness of Advanced Conqueror's Haki not working, they also have Conqueror's Haki. Does this mean that Emu can only be killed by users of Haki like Joyboy/Shanks? Okay, so there's lots of ways that... So Holy Knight's weakness for not working if they also have Conqueror's Haki. I don't think that means that their regeneration doesn't work, right? I don't think it doesn't. If a Holy Knight also has Conqueror's Haki like Herald, I don't think that means that the regeneration doesn't work. It just means that they're stronger or there's more of a buffer or something like that. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, Okay, so here's the thing. Yesterday, watched Jujutsu Kaisen, all right? 2 new episodes came out, right, for season 3. So watch Jujutsu Kaisen. So, as much as people have, things to say about Jujutsu Kaisen's conclusion and everything like that, everybody would acknowledge that, a lot of people also say that Jujutsu Kaisen can be overly convoluted with its rules. I would agree with that. I would 100,000 million% prefer a story have an overly complicated power system that at least you can still understand and dissect or whatever and be like, okay, this is why this works and this doesn't work and yada yada, versus a power system like we have here in One Piece right now where everything is fucking vague as fuck and some things are just left up to interpretation, or some things seem forgotten at some points, or some things are made vague. I think when it comes to power system stuff, I would rather the more complicated than not, as long as there's consistency, right? Because I will say this with one thing with Jujutsu Kaisen is there have been times that, because I'm a casual fan for Jujutsu Kaisen, okay? So there have been times that I go to I haven't even read the Culling games. I kind of skipped to the climax part of the story, right? There are times where I'm like, wait, why does this make sense? Or why does this, this doesn't make any sense to me, power logic-wise or something. And then I'll go to Reddit, and then somebody will have like a 3-paragraph breakdown explaining why, like, oh no, the simple domain, but it doesn't, it counteracts this, but then failed to counteract this because then this binding vow should happen, and then yada yada, and then RCT can only work under these circumstances, and the RCT was converted into this or that, and then it'll have like 200 upvotes, and it's like, okay, so at least it seems like everything makes sense and was explained. It's just too much, right? I swear to God, the fucking, I don't want to go off on a Jujutsu Kaisen thing, but yesterday, I swear, like, even when the anime's trying to just have like a natural flow to the sequence of events or everything like that, there's so much fucking exposition about like specific abilities and stuff like that, and why Yuji shouldn't use a weapon or whatever because this or that. I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Anyway, still would rather have that than what One Piece is doing. I don't know. Bit of a tangent. But you basically ask, can Emu only be killed by users of Haki like Joy Boy and Shanks? I personally think that his ability stems from a devil fruit, right? So I think 3 things, right? I think that, I don't think that Emu can be, I think 3 things can hurt Emu, all right? 3 things can hurt Emu. I think Haki of sufficient level can do it. We didn't see that at God Valley, but it should do it. I think his reaction to Joy Boy's Haki says a lot. So I think Haki of sufficient level should be able to do it. So that's 1. 2, Emu's immortality, it stems from the immortality surgery that's basically been explained to us in the story, right? So it's devil fruit based, which means even if it's not from the immortality surgery, like some people argue, it's devil fruit based, which means the Yami Yami no Mi should be able to kill him, right? 3, assuming it is the immortality surgery, it's possible that Lost Fruit can counteract it. So I think there's 3 ways that Emu can kind of go down here. This is an interesting prediction. So Newport's Poppy said Loki clashes with Big Mom. That'd be cool to see. Loki clashes with Big Mom. What is this? Newport's Poppy. Sid says Luffy and Loki's Devil Fruit will counteract Emu's abilities. Luffy and Loki's Devil Fruit will counteract Emu's abilities. All right. Luffy and Loki's Devil Fruit. You think we're coming back to the main story already? That'd be crazy fast. I feel like if the flashback wraps up this chapter, I just don't think we're getting into the fight right away, but I might be wrong. I should put Newport's Poppy your full name as well, right? So that we've got the full documentation. Can't have any fake Newport's Poppies running around. Justin, thanks for the 2. We end the flashback and see Luffy's reaction. Is that too simple? No, it's because it's possible to... Yeah, I'm down to have it. Flashback ends, plus we see Luffy's reaction. Justin, I'm only going to give you this if you get both parts of it. Because I feel like flashback end... No, because I don't think the flashback will end, right? So I can't, on the one hand, be saying that this is too simple of a prediction. We get Loki setting out to sea, and then also saying flashback ends is too simple of a prediction. Because we kind of all know where the... Unless Oda throws a big wrench in the works, we all kind of know where the story is headed for the flash... Like, in the immediate future, right? We know that we're pretty much at the conclusion of what we were told this flashback is about. We should be wrapping up shortly. The only events that remain to be seen are kind of like how the fallout is with the giants, and then Loki's... Sorry, that thing came by. Loki's rampage at sea and his subsequent capture by Shanks. So we kind of know all that stuff, and then we know that after that stuff wraps, we're coming back to the modern day, right? Taptia Trevisa, thanks to 2. So Roger and Whitebeard and Rox's Conqueror's Haki isn't enough. There's levels to it. By the way, I don't think that Haki stacks like that. I think it would have to be like one user's Haki has to be good enough to do it. I don't think that if you put 2 users whose Haki... Well, I mean, Roger and Garp were able to stack it against Rox, but I feel like that might be a different mechanism. And that was an attack where they went all out. Yeah, I mean, Joy Boy's Haki, still, like, probably the most insane level of Haki that we've seen. My logic is kind of just, like, it's kind of like, remember, we saw all 9 Scabbards attack Kaido with, or many Scabbards, right? Maybe not all 9, but we saw a shit ton of Scabbards attack Kaido with really strong Haki. It was actually enough to damage him, right? But none of that alone was enough to scar him. Ultimately, one really strong attack from Zoro was enough to scar him, you know? So I think stacking a lot of characters who are some tier below to do a combination Haki attack, like a couple tiers below Imu to do a combination attack, just simply isn't as effective as a character who's like as strong as Imu or stronger, just going all out with Haki. So I mean, that's my thought, but obviously we might be wrong. We need more explanation. It's just that Haki's always been the answer to everything in the story, and it should be, by the way. That's narratively better. It is better. One Piece is a story about how willpower can overcome anything, the power of your strength of will. I mean, literally from Baratier, we were told that the strongest ability you can have is just guts and conviction. So Haki should trump everything. It's not bad writing that Haki trumps everything. I think it's Oda's inconsistent use of Haki throughout the story and kind of the rules surrounding it. Sid P, thanks for the 2. Outlier is Blackbeard and Dark Fruit. Yeah. I agree. That and potentially Lost Fruit. Random guy. Oops. What the hell? Why am I not able to see this? Sorry, hold on. Slow loading here. What the fuck is going on? Okay. Random guy, thanks for the 5. Do you think Roger's legacy as a character was permanently stained by the God Valley flashback? So stained is a harsh word because it's not like some terrible shit happened with Roger. It's just that I feel like earlier in the story, Roger felt almost like this mythical figure. Like there's just so much weight attached to the idea of Roger. And I feel like and you know what? And it's not even like, oh, well, he could never live up to the hype. Because I think when we finally got Roger in the Odin flashback, he lived up to what we were imagining, which was this figure who, one, was basically the strongest in the world, tied with Whitebeard, right? He immediately seemed like that. Gave us, like, right off the bat, Roger and Whitebeard gave us that crazy iconic clash that was just on a totally different level. And it felt like, wow, Oda's delivering on what it feels like to see this much vaunted like king of the pirates figure, right? And he actually just handled Odin, who Oda had spent the last like 5 chapters, by the way, just hyping up to no end. Like Oda had hyped the fuck out of Odin for like chapter after chapter after chapter. Even when Whitebeard showed up at Wano, Oda still had Odin look really cool in his clash against Whitebeard, right? But the first thing that Oda does is like the first attack Oda has Roger do is him basically low diffing Odin, who we had been hyping up for so long, right? For we'd just been reading this invincible hero Odin story for some time, right? And Roger basically uses him as a warm up, right? And then we get that crazy clash with Whitebeard, and it's like, oh my god, these two are just this is the Pirate King level between what we're seeing these two or whatever. And so Roger lived up in terms of strength, but then also in terms of the mystique around him. We immediately saw, like, you know, he is goofy and silly in many ways, right? Like we'd kind of heard about him before. We'd been told that he's very childish and goofy. But there was also this sense of, like, just next level vision and understanding and ambition. Like, the way he's talking to Whitebeard and Odin, and they're just in awe of the things that he's saying. And he has this grand ambition for what he wants to do. And he has so many little iconic moments. And then obviously the Roger laughed moment. It really felt like we're watching a mythical figure humanized in a sense. But even seeing him humanized, he still feels like this larger than life character, right? Like the Roger laughed moment is iconic largely because Roger has carried that sort of weight through the Odin flashback as well. even his final moments and everything like that, he's like, my son is going to be the next Joy Boy and everything. It just feels like he's got such a vision, right? He's got such a vision, and then the next thing he does, he goes out, he has a kid, he passes on messages to everyone he needs to pass on messages to. He then goes and has his grand execution that the whole world hears about, right? If Oda just stopped showing us stuff about Roger right there, both the man and the myth line up nicely. I feel like the God Valley flashback, it doesn't stain Roger's legacy, but I don't think anybody is going to look at him the same way anymore. Staining his legacy would be like if we found out he's a fucking fraud or some shit, right? That's not the case, but it was just like at no point in the God Valley flashback do I feel like Roger really felt like this sort of larger-than-life figure that we had grown accustomed to reading about him as since chapter 1, right? I don't think Oda should have done that. I don't think Oda should have brought Roger down from that pedestal, because he'd already very effectively written him during the Oden flashback, right? As this character who, we can see is human and goofy and silly, much like Luffy, but it feels like a still very grandiose character, right? I feel like One Piece is a story that a lot of it lies on creating this sense of an epic myth. I don't think areas that Oda has already effectively established a sense of grandiosity and legend, that he should neuter those later on. Like, for a simple example is like Whitebeard. I think Whitebeard in this whole Rocks God Valley flashback, he has moments where he looks like a little goofier, sillier, whatever, like when he's having his hard eyes for Shaki. But I think you get to the end of it, and it actually still feels like Whitebeard back then, he still feels very much like this grand, epic, legendary figure that we know of him today. We just saw him in his younger days, but his younger days feel congruent and consistent with what we see of him in his later days in the Oden flashback, and then his later years, like much later years, in the modern day story, right? So that's, I don't know. I'm just surprised that Oda went that route, because again, it's not like Roger wasn't shown to be strong, and it's not like Roger wasn't shown to be cool and badass in moments and everything like that. It ultimately really was, but like a lot of it did kind of downplay this sense that like the King of the Pirates is like anything more than just another dude who happened to get a little bit ahead of the rest of the pack when it came to finding the One Piece. I don't know. I don't think I personally like that much, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Like, I don't think it's a big deal. I think part of it is also that Roger and Garp versus Rocks was a good fight, but again, a lot of people are like, well, it didn't show us anything crazy new or really crazy super duper impressive or whatever. That's totally different from the things that we've seen before. And it was also a team effort, so it didn't feel like just Roger. So there's there's a lot to it. So like, again, I would say that with this whole flashback, if you're talking about Roger, Garp, and Whitebeard, like the three big names from that period, I would say Roger's legend, probably how we view him, or how a lot of readers, I don't want to say we, but like how a lot of readers view him, may have dipped a little bit, right? I think Whitebeard stayed consistent with everything that we know of him, we've seen of him. It felt all natural to who he is. And then I think Garp's stock rose a little bit. I think people view Garp with a little bit more of an elevated light now. Kurakami Najimi says it only hurts him if you thought that was his prime. No, because the thing is that I'm not talking about just his strength, right? Even if Roger wasn't quite at the strength level that he would later be at, right? Even if he wasn't quite at that strength level, one, he was 39, so he's well into his who he is, right? He's the same age as Shanks is today, right? He's established kind of as, he's the number 2 pirate in the world, and by the end of the God Valley flashback, he's the number 1 pirate in the world, right? He's the strongest pirate in the world by the end of the God Valley flashback, because Rox has died, okay? So, sure, he's not in his prime, but he's already got the stuff that basically he's close enough, right? So it's not just about strength, though. It's more so how Roger is portrayed throughout all that. So, for example, let's say when Roger was way back before his prime, The earliest flashback, timeline-wise, that we have of Roger is actually him meeting Rayleigh on that boat, right? And Roger was really weak back then, and so is Rayleigh. But there still feels like some sort of hook to the character that feels really special right off the bat, where it's like he's coming out, he's like, hey, do you want to turn the world upside down with me? And at that point, I think Oda's just showing us like a little silhouette of him or whatever. And it feels like, yeah, Roger's nowhere near as strong as he's going to become. That's the weakest he'll ever be. But it still feels like something, like this is a character who is special in a sense, right? Who really has this grand sort of way of tackling the world and everything. I think a lot of what we saw character-wise of Roger over the course of the God Valley flashback, it felt almost too, in my opinion, too lackadaisical, right? Because it's one thing to be goofy and silly, because he is that in his later years as well, as we saw in the Odin flashback, but it's very much just like, okay, he's chasing after women, he's goofing around, he's just trying to get some treasure at God Valley, like he's angry at rocks, he's ripping up the newspaper, he's very illogical, irrational, like there's not really the cool factor around Roger, or even when Luffy is really weak in the story, the way he's written, talking to people, and the way he espouses his ideas, and the way that he thinks and sees the world, that's all stuff that still carries and like feels like it's coming from somebody that is a grand figure. Okay? With Roger, I didn't feel like that at all in the God Valley flashback, compared to how he's portrayed in the Odin flashback, and even how he was portrayed at the very start of his story when he's setting off with Rayleigh. So it just felt like a figure that just felt like Luffy's a comical figure, but he will drop lines and moments very often that remind you just how much weight there is behind the character. And this was all the way back in East Blue and everything, right? Didn't really get that sense at all from Roger. He had a good battle moment against Rocks, but that's kind of just expected that he should have a good battle moment. So that's kind of, if that makes sense. It's not like a huge thing, but that's just what, Roger was too fucking petty. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the mystery is kind of gone to Sebastian, but that's the thing. It's not even just about the mystery being gone, because I feel like we got the God Valley flashback, right? Rox's mystery was revealed more, and Rox is a fucking phenomenal, fantastic character, right? For many people, he's their favorite character in One Piece now, right? Even if he didn't fit the figure that we saw, that we thought we were getting in chapter 957, and the figure that we'd heard about, the character that we got, phenomenal. Whitebeard, right? Whitebeard we'd already seen in the modern day, but like, and we really liked what he was in the modern day, but we go back in time further and further, and it's like, he's not different, right? Like, you see a younger version of him that's obviously a bit different than the older version, but the bones are still there, and the I guess you could say the aura, the sort of strength with which he composes himself, which he tackles the world, with which he comports himself, right? All of that still feels very true to Whitebeard. With Roger, there's just this disconnect between, like, to me, between the guy we see in chapter 1, right, and the guy that everybody talks about, the guy that we saw in the Odin flashback, and the guy that we even saw in the earliest flashback when he's first meeting Rayleigh, right? Like, that guy just feels somewhat different than the guy that we see in the God Valley flashback, which feels like, I guess I would say this, Roger in the God Valley flashback feels like a very generic character. He's not very different from a lot of the other One Piece characters that we've seen. I think he's a character type that we actually see somewhat often in One Piece, and it's just done better by many other characters. I feel like he comes across a little bit... Forget One Piece, even like another anime and manga, he feels like a little bit just generic the way that he's written throughout God Valley. And I would honestly say, at points, irritating. Like, there are points that got Roger's kind of irritating in the God Valley flashback. Which I never thought I would say about the character. Alright, let's get stream likes up to 50 real quick. Let me get back into this. Alright. Deptio Treviso, thanks for the 2. So this proves that Joy Boy is greater than Roger and Haki alone? Yes. I was definitely wrong about that. I had hopes for Roger. I had very high hopes for Roger. I mean, like, again, Roger could have gotten stronger later. That's very likely. He did get stronger later. It's suggested by the manga itself. But even in the chapter, the narrator talks about that, right? But I don't think his Haki got to Joy Boy's level. I think that's unlikely. JR, thanks for the 5. Why do you think Caesar isn't talked about as much as a villain? What do you think are his pros and cons as a villain? It's because he's in Punk Hazard. Thoughts? The biggest thing is that Caesar has been the simplest way to make you stop thinking about a character as a villain is when they get turned into a running gag and also almost a recurring little side character slash ally. Caesar is actually getting the same treatment as Buggy did pre-time. It's actually remarkably similar, right? Buggy is essentially the first significant villain that Luffy faces on his adventure, right? Pre-time skip. Caesar is the first significant villain that Luffy faces once he's entered the New World. Buggy the Clown, Caesar Clown. Caesar is essentially the Buggy of the New World. After they're both defeated, they're not actually a challenge. They're kind of a challenge in a tricky and annoying way in their initial arcs. But Luffy defeats Buggy, Luffy defeats Caesar. What happens next is Buggy becomes a sort of recurring running gag side character in the story. And he just kind of keeps being around, right? Caesar, same thing. The simple difference is that Buggy, the gag is well, Caesar is funny. Let me stop right there. Caesar is funny. Gangster Gastino is one of my favorite it's one of my favorite gags in the story, even though it's so fucking dumb. Caesar is funny, okay? With Buggy, obviously Buggy, I think Buggy's not even funny in the first East Blue arc. He's really not. It's it's the more that he becomes recurring that he becomes sort of this lovable side character. And really, it's once the Impel Down Marine Ford stuff starts to snowball and it's like, oh my god, Buggy's becoming like a huge deal. How far is Oda taking this gag? That's when stuff gets really good with Buggy, right? Oda's not going to do anything like that with Caesar. Caesar's basically he's a plot device in that he's the scientist that can concoct things and an escape route in Whole Cake Island. He's used to pull the plot together in a lot of ways, and now he's formed Neomads. But I don't think Oda can ever run that same gag again, where it's like, oh my god, now everyone, like, Caesar's become a huge deal in the New World and everything like that. I don't think he can do that same Buggy thing again. So he's never going to be as beloved of a character as Buggy. He's kind of a funny recurring side character now, and it's hard to just think of him as like one of Luffy's main villains. Because like you think about Luffy's villains in the New World, it's some serious shit. Like Doflamingo, Katakuri, Big Mom, Kaido, Kizaru, Gorosei, whatever, right? It's a hefty roster, right? Caesar's so far removed from the rest of them that it's hard to even imagine him counting. Sorry, catching up here. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 50 real quick, because we're almost there. Mr. MMF2, Mord, shouldn't we be doing the 2026 bingo by now? That's Monday's stream. So we have to space things out. I considered doing that on today's stream, but I didn't simply because if we do chapter predictions next Monday, then it's likely that leaks will come out too early, and then that'll fuck up our predictions process on Monday. So I'm saving 2026 bingo for the Monday stream. It just has to be saved. It's just the way things played out. Don't worry, we're doing 2026 bingo soon. Habiso Nani 6632, thanks for the 2. Redemption of One Piece power system, Devil Fruit plus Haki interaction. I would love to see. You know what I would love to see? Because it's true, we haven't seen this that much in general, which is if we could see attacks let's say Dragon is a Wind Logia user, right? Let's pretend that's the case. If we pretend Dragon is a Wind Logia user, which is a decent chance, and let's assume Dragon is a Conqueror's Haki user, very, very good chance, right? I would love to see attacks that if he could somehow use Wind and Conqueror's Haki at the same time, send, I don't know, gust, imagine a tornado of Conqueror's Haki. This might sound silly because it's One Piece, so we know that characters can mostly just punch and kick and cut with Conqueror's Haki. But let's just get outside the box a little bit. It wouldn't be cool if, Loki uses Ragnar, right? Wouldn't it be cool if we Conqueror's Haki is often lightning. Ragnar literally summons lightning. I think it'd be cool if Ragnar could actually send like a blast of lightning that is Conqueror's Haki lightning or something like that. You know, like imbuing your elemental attacks with Conqueror's Haki, I think would be really, really cool. Recently, let's see, because we've had opportunities for this. Kaido and Big Mom don't do that, right? Kaido and Big Mom, their attacks fall into two categories. Either they're doing their physical attacks, which use Conqueror's Haki, or they're using elemental attacks, which don't, right? Like Boro Breath has no Haki component. It's just an elemental blast. Big Mom's homies, as far as we see, have no Haki component. It's just elemental attacks. Recently, we saw Whitebeard do that attack against Emu, which was his first named move in the story. And it was, you know, a Gura Gura no Mi punch plus Conqueror's Haki, which is kind of cool to see. But it's not exactly the same because ultimately Whitebeard's attacks are also physical punches in the first place, be that Gura Gura no Mi or Conqueror's Haki. So, yeah, I would love to see Conqueror's Haki, like Haki involved in Devil Fruit abilities. That would be cool to me. That would be cool to me, personally. Della says, do you all think Shanks is genuinely stronger than Roger now? I think Shanks would be stronger than God Valley Roger. I think the chances of him being stronger than Roger in general, I don't know. Chances of him being stronger, yeah, I don't know. I'm One Piece power scaling wise, I think low key for me, the last chapter that just came out is probably the most, it shook up my power scaling views the most, because I think I need to see a little bit more before I can sit down and be like, okay, this is what makes sense. I explained this in last stream, or maybe it was 2 streams ago, but it does just throw a lot of things into question. Throws a shit ton of things into question. So I'm kind of treating things now as like, okay, it's, you know what, it's just, I'm just not even going to make any sort of definitive thoughts or claims or anything like that till I get some more chapters. If Dommy Harold was an admiral, then Admiral fans would have said he was mentally nerfed, to be honest. Anders says, One Piece power creep is insane, lol. Taptio says it's not power creep. Power creep is more about world building than how strong characters are in relation to each other. I guess what Ender's saying is power creep in the sense that I agree that's not what power creep is, but I get what Ender's saying, which is more so that like what we were told is kind of the ceiling for some time might be being revealed to not be the ceiling, you know? People talk about this a lot. The eternal youth surgery versus the immortality surgery. I know it's referred to as the immortality surgery in the Viz, and I generally use that, but obviously eternal youth surgery is like literally what it says. It's very likely the same thing. I think people are getting caught up on that, but like if you look at how Fountain of Youth or Eternal Youth things have been done throughout fiction, it is very often like goes hand in hand with immortality. So I think it's likely the same thing. I think there's very little reason that it would be 2 separate abilities, because it just doesn't, like, we've already seen that either way, right, Emu can grant that to his subordinates, right? The regeneration, and then the next step up from the regeneration is not aging either, right? We've already seen that, because, like, people who have the Deep Sea Pact, the God's Knights, they can regenerate, but they still age. Then one step up the radar, or not the radar, the ladder, is the Gorosei and Gunko, who have the top tier pacts, so they both don't age and they regenerate, right? Sorry, they regenerate and they don't age, right? So to me, it just seems like levels to the same ability, as far as I can tell. So I get that people want to make that distinction. I'm kind of I always just Occam's razor it, which is just like, this just seems like generally the same thing. Like in fiction, in whatever, usually when people say like, oh, this character is immortal, right? What they mean is they cannot be killed, right? And they don't age. It's usually hand in hand that those things go together. I get that just saying eternal youth or whatever narrows that down and says, well, maybe they could be killed, but they don't age. But I'm saying that, again, Occam's razor, the way that this is often used in storytelling, it's likely that it's just part and parcel of the same thing. That's why I don't really get into the technicalities of that. But maybe it's two separate things. I don't know. But either way, we know that Emu can grant, that these are abilities that Emu can grant. He can grant regeneration. He can grant eternal youth. To me, it just seems like natural progression of the same ability. That's why I don't really parse through it that much. Dr. Farewell, thanks for the 2. We'll see Loki's first meeting with Mosa. That's a good prediction. I like that. I'm also almost 100% convinced that Mosa is Shirahoshi. Anand Karthik, thanks a lot. Prediction. Hadruden says, sorry to Loki, and they hug. Why doesn't Gabon say this shit? What the fuck is, why is it on Loki to explain all this shit? I think it has just become so clear in recent times that One Piece's plot requires characters not sharing information in order for everything to work. Also, let's get stream likes up to 100 real quick. Tiptio says, but it's always been called the Eternal Youth Surgery, never the Immortality Surgery. Yes, but the abilities that we're trying to parse out are the fact that the Gorosei and the Gorosei never age and are immortal, that Emu never ages and can't be damaged, regenerates from everything. That's something that we're trying to parse out, right? So I'm saying it seems like a natural progression of things. Just because it's called the Eternal Youth Surgery doesn't mean that it isn't also the explanation for the immortality. Does that make sense? Anders says ceiling is constantly being redefined, so characters who have been stated to be near the ceiling but have shown otherwise in relation to the newly established ceiling look like frauds who could have done more. Yeah, it's tricky. Yeah. I think Emu and Joy Boy being revealed to be like... I think people don't have an issue with Emu and Joy Boy being revealed to be, the strongest of all time, because those are secret characters, right? But setting those characters aside, the characters that we've known from the start of the story for literally, I don't even know how long, some thousand something chapters, it's established that Roger, Whitebeard, two strongest characters, period. That's really drilled into our heads for a long period of time, right? And then we're getting new characters introduced, like Rocks and stuff, so it's like, okay, so this character is comparable. It's being confirmed that Garp is on the level of Roger and Whitebeard, which was already hinted at and everything like that. Still vague how Kaido, Big Mom stack up to them to some degree. But now it's seeming like, okay, now maybe fucking Rocks and Harold were actually the strongest ever, actually. But maybe they're not, because fucking Loki is stronger than an amped Herald, and then it's like, okay, but then Loki loses to Shanks, so it's like, okay, so actually is Shanks the strongest ever, and then therefore would that make Mihawk the real strongest ever, and then where does that put Dragon? So part of it is kind of like, it's more so reconciling everything we know about the current era. I think people don't have as much of an issue with the ancient characters like Emu and Joy Boy. Everyone's just like, okay, they're the strongest, but who's the strongest of these days? And it's like, what the fuck? We thought it was fucking Roger or Whitebeard, but now they actually might be 10 spots down the list or something like that for all we know. Or they are at the top of the list, and maybe we're just really overestimating Rocks and Harold, and therefore Loki... I don't know. Too many questions right now. Gobble these nuts. Thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 15 months, man. Loki goes on a rampage against the world government and Shanks stops him because the time isn't right. He's a rat. Everybody get your Pirate King podcast submissions in before I fucking forget. Get your Pirate King podcast submissions in. Everybody get your Pirate King podcast submissions in. Sorry, I should have been shouting that out somewhat more. Because I will be recording it very, very soon. So get your Pirate King podcast submissions in. For those of you who don't know, Pirate King podcast is my monthly podcast that I do where I record they've been usually like an hour and a half to 2 hours long these days. All Pirate King tier members submit any questions that they have. It can be about One Piece, other anime, manga, TV shows, movies, real life, yada yada, anything. As long as it's not too private, obviously. You can ask any of those questions, and I answer every single person's question very, very in-depth because it's a podcast dedicated just to your guys' questions. If you join the Pirate King tier, you also get access to all previous podcasts. So your prediction is Loki goes on a rampage against the world government and Shanks stops him. That would actually be crazy. God damn it. If Shanks does that, that would be real. Ah, man, that would be really, really annoying to see. I mean, we don't know everything, but whatever. Loki goes on a rampage against the world government and Shanks stops him. That'd be funny, though. Maybe Tom says maybe Shanks brought 10 tons of TNT to fight Loki. Yeah, that's actually very possible. Anyone is defeatable with enough TNT in One Piece. Tiptia Treviso, thanks to 2. Did you get my email or did my Pirate King submission get seen now? Okay, so we looked into it this time. So, we saw you left a comment saying something like, I hope my Pirate King submission gets seen or whatever. Our theory is that, let me check if we got your email. Our theory is that, Tiptia, you're sending Pirate King podcast submissions that are perhaps too long to fit in the YouTube comments section. That's our running theory. So if you could shorten them a little bit, that would be good. Because I think once it's like a page-long submission, then it's possibly too much. Okay, so I see an email from you, and it's 16 hours ago. This is a third of the length of the last one. Yeah, this question, I feel like this should have fit. But we have it. This will make it into the Pirate King podcast. Don't worry. Might have needed 11 tons. Shank's strength got mad retconned. I highly doubt that. Here's my simple take is that, like, a lot of... Oda's been planning One Piece for a very, very long time. The characters who he had planned out from the beginning are the characters who he's most likely to already have in mind how strong/significant they're supposed to be, right? In the first 100, I always reiterate this, in the first 100 chapters, we are introduced to Chapter 1, Shanks, Chapter 50, Mihawk, Chapter 100, Dragon, okay? Oda knows what he's doing with these three characters. He didn't introduce, like, those are the first fucking top tiers he introduces, and it takes, like, another, like, 150 chapters before, 100-something chapters before he starts introducing more top tiers, okay? From literally Chapter 1, he's got this character Shanks in mind. And Oda's talked in many an interview about how he has so many plans for Shanks in the final war, how we're in the final saga when Shanks is in the story, etc., yada yada. People who know the end of One Piece talk about how important Shanks is. Oda knows how, like, fucking... This isn't like a character that Oda introduced and then accidentally was like, oh, wait a sec, how fucking strong is this guy supposed to be? Like, Shanks is introduced Chapter 1, Mihawk's introduced Chapter 50. They're the only two top tiers in the story for the first saga. The saga ends with them talking to each other about who's stronger. Like, you want a duel or whatever, right? Oda's not fucking writing all this shit like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Like, no, these are the characters that are most likely Oda knew how strong they're supposed to be from the beginning. As the story progressed, that's when Oda's coming up with more character ideas and stuff like that, and he's coming up with... I wouldn't be surprised if Oda didn't have, like, Harold in mind as a character when he started the story. Maybe he didn't. It's possible he didn't even have Rox in mind when he started the story, right? It's possible he didn't even have Loki in mind when he started the story. Those are all characters coming much later, but Oda's probably already decided from the beginning of the story that, how strong he wants his main top tiers that he's introducing from the beginning to be, We saw Garp early too now. Technically in cover story, right? Technically in cover story. We're not actually introduced. Garp's introduction is until like chapter 400 something. So yeah, you could say Garp as well. That's another character that I probably knew from the beginning how strong he wanted him to be. Keep in mind, Garp actually played the Shanks role in one of the early versions of One Piece. In one of the prototype versions of One Piece, there was no Shanks. It was Luffy's grandpa that was his inspiration and mentor. So Garp is also a character that Oda's always had in mind. So like Roger, Garp, Shanks, Mihawk, Dragon, right? Arjavid says, Dragon has the luxury to be much stronger than all the other characters because he's featless and he represents his own tier of power. No one gets upscaled or downscaled based on Dragon's power level. That's very true. Dragon has existed in sort of this mysterious bubble this whole time in the story. Nobody has ever talked about how strong Dragon is once in the story, but everybody's talked about how important and impactful Dragon is and his the weight that he carries in the world, right? And there is a ton of hype surrounding him for that reason, and he's treated as so mysterious that it's like, did he fight? Like, there's just no record of who he's fought or what he's done or anything, but you just know he's like this fucking huge deal, right? So that's one thing that's really cool about Dragon. He's just in his own bubble, like he's his own thing, he's his own entity. Kurakami Najimi says, I say it was retcon because initially Shanks was said to be weaker than Old Whitebeard. Now we see he defeated a character stronger than God Value Whitebeard. The thing is that even though it was, like, it's never, how do I say this? Whitebeard is always stated to hold the title of World's Strongest Man, right? He's stated to hold the title of World's Strongest Man. We don't have real knowledge of how other characters stack to him. I think with the events of Marineford, it actually does seem like it's likely that there are characters who were probably as strong as him at Marineford, if not stronger, So I don't think that's a retcon. I think that's just Oda using what the people of the One Piece world know, and using reputation as the way to put forward Whitebeard as number one. But I don't think Whitebeard is actually the world's number one during Marineford, and I think that kind of becomes clear the further that we go in the story. He had the title, right? It's kind of like, I think a lot of people still considered LeBron to be the number one player in the world for some time until it started to become clear in the last few years that, okay, he's just not that anymore, maybe. I think by 2021 or 22, maybe by 2022, people stopped saying LeBron's number one. I forget. Nothing about Shanks versus Whitebeard made him feel weaker than Whitebeard. Yeah, it felt even. And Harley Casey out. Yeah, it made him feel even. And honestly, with the way that Marineford ended, with Shanks showing up and stopping Akainu and everybody freaking out when they saw him and everything, it kind of felt like, okay, maybe this dude is stronger than Whitebeard right now, because we just saw Whitebeard have like a million heart attacks and just a million, like he couldn't do jack shit, I mean, he did a lot. He did a lot, but he couldn't. He was clearly so in such a state of deterioration at that point that it was hard to even be like, okay, is this guy? What do we consider this guy? Tom, thanks for being a Yarn Couture member for 39 months, and thanks for the long-time support of the channel, man. Maybe Gabon caught anterograde amnesia from Big Mom while at God Valley. I don't think that's the case, but that'd be funny. Prediction: Dragon starts the Freedom Fighters. Thanks for the content, Kaiji. Oh man, I'm doing things one at a time. So let's see. What did I do recently? I'm freeing up some time this year, right? So two things. Main thing. I started playing a game, which I haven't played in a long time. I haven't played games since 2024 when I played Bloodborne. Man, I went a full year without playing anything. Damn. Although that's not that crazy. I only really started playing video games again in 2023. Before that, I hadn't played in like years. I've never been a big gamer, but I do kind of miss it to some degree. But anyway, I started playing Black Myth Wukong, and I'm enjoying that. So I now have more time to consume things, to play things, and stuff like that. So I'm feeling pretty good. Prediction: Dragon starts the Freedom Fighters. 8 Gates Productions, thanks for the 2. Morge, what's your honest review of HelloFresh? HelloFresh, honest review? By the way, HelloFresh and Factor, same company. Same company, fun fact. Same company. Honest review of HelloFresh. I prefer Factor because I am actually so bad. The food is the same. It's the same quality. HelloFresh is basically giving you all the food in a way that's very easy to prepare. I prefer Factor because with Factor, it's ready to go. It's just straight up ready, right? With HelloFresh, you do have to do some level of preparation, even though it's made very, very easy for you. I prefer zero preparation. If you're talking about just the quality of the food, no joke whatsoever, is very good with HelloFresh and Factor. It is really good. HelloFresh is going to be a little bit more like, do you nail the recipe yourself? The recipes are designed to be very simple. Like, again, absolutely honest review. I am very, very, very much not a cook. I can cook breakfast foods fine, and I have a couple like dinner dishes that I know how to make that like I do fine because from college or whatever, like enchiladas or simple stuff for pasta, right? But I'm really not a cook. So for me, HelloFresh, even though it made everything very simple, I would find that the times that it would give me, like between 15 to 20 minutes, like preparation time, like, oh, it'll be done in 15 to 20 minutes. For me, it would be usually like double that. Just because I would just get things wrong or misunderstand something, or I do something that's probably supposed to be really simple and take you like 5 minutes and it would take me 10 minutes. Like, but everything really is very, very easy with HelloFresh. Like, all the ingredients are just ready to go. It's usually just like peel this, open this, mix this, put this in whatever. Like, I'm speaking more so from my level, which is like, imagine you're not even like a below average cooking ability person. Imagine you're basically like somebody that grew up on, I don't know, some desert island or something like that, where you just, I don't know, ate coconuts every day and never had to learn how to cook, okay? Imagine if it's that level, then HelloFresh will usually take you probably like at least 10 minutes longer than it says on the recipes. But if you're asking for food quality, it is very good. Food quality, HelloFresh is good, Factor is good. They're both very good. And like, that's something I'm genuinely not just saying. Just try it if you want to try it. Joseph eBay, thanks for the 5. Yo, Morch, how have you been, man? Hope you're well. What's your favorite One Piece laugh? Mine is Caesar. I think Blackbeard is my favorite One Piece laugh. I think Whitebeard is a close second. I think they both got very distinctive laughs. And as for how I've been good. So, just did a pretty extended road trip. My girlfriend and I and our 2 dogs, we did basically like a 50-hour-ish road trip. Over the course of the holidays, we saw family, we saw extended family. It was a good time. So came back and have made some shifts schedule-wise and channel production-wise that will make things much easier work-wise for me going forward. And that's something that I very much look forward to. That's why I have time to like start playing a game now and stuff like that, and time to do a little bit more free time stuff. So it feels good. Feels good. I hope you're doing well, man. Anand says, nah, more just say you're lazy. It's true that I don't like cooking. That's true. But also fundamentally, it does take me longer to cook HelloFresh than the average person. That's all I'll say. And part of it is also with HelloFresh, you can get the same thing. I think there's something you can keep getting the same meals if you're like selecting that and everything, but you also probably want some variety. And I don't like having to learn how to make a new thing every time. But you can select to get the same meals if you want though, so that's really not that big of an issue. Um, but yeah, if I back when I was doing HelloFresh, like it would be a few things of HelloFresh, and it'd be like, okay, it's a new recipe each day, which I was like, no, this is like, there's something easy about, like, I can make enchiladas or pasta without having to think about it, you know? So I do like that, but again, that's an avoidable issue because, again, with HelloFresh, you can just, once you figure out the meals you like, you can make sure you keep getting them. Luke Brown says, no more wait for this Tuesday's video. Yes, for those of you who don't know, big announcement. We are doing one more Tuesday video for the year. One more Tuesday video. It's going to be a short one. It's going to be a short one just because there's not that much to talk about One Piece-wise at the moment. After next chapter, we're doing Saturday videos. We're doing Saturday videos starting with next chapter. So watch out for that. We're going to try doing Saturday videos. So right after the chapter, you guys will get a video from me. The new system is going to be chapter reviews are going to be on Fridays. Streams are still going to be on Fridays. And then main video is going to come out on Saturday, right? So like there's been a lot of things that have been shifted around work-wise, new editor and everything like that to make this work. But we're going to be going for it. And yeah, the other piece of good news is chapter reviews are from now on going to be staying on the channel. So chapter reviews are staying on the channel. Before we would take them down. Now we're going to keep them. Arjavid says, to be honest, it makes sense for the current gen to be stronger than the old gen. What's happening in the present time should always overshine what happened in the past. I agree, but I figure, like, in most stories, that logic usually applies to, like, the main character. Like, the new gen is Luffy, Blackbeard, Zoro, stuff like that, right? Like, that's what we call, like, although Blackbeard's obviously old, his rise as a pirate is new, right? Like, Luffy, Blackbeard, you would expect Kid, Law, Zoro, etc. Like, in most shonen storytelling, that would kind of be the case. That's, like, the group. Like, most shonen, it generally kind of goes, like, there's some fucking old-ass, old man that's like this was the strongest in the past or whatever, right? Like, be that a like, you've got the old guard who are really fucking strong, like Yamamoto in Bleach, fucking the past Hokage in Naruto, you know, just go down the line in most shonen anime. Like, there's usually like some old geezer dude that's like really strong, or maybe some old geezer characters that are really, really strong. In One Piece, that would be like Whitebeard, Garp, etc. And it's kind of like, well, that squad was like the strongest. Then you've got like the adults of today, usually, which, you know, it's not like Jiraiya and Kakashi and stuff like that are way stronger than the old Hokages or anything. It's not like Byakuya is way stronger than, you know, old man Yamamoto. Like, generally that's kind of the vibe, right? And then you've got your new young characters. It's usually like the story usually follows the new young characters, them surpassing the old guard, right? That's kind of that's not an absolute rule. There's plenty of exceptions, but that's usually kind of the case. So like, when I think of the new gen, I don't think like Shanks, Mihawk, Dragon. I think of Luffy's group, right? Luffy, what Ace could have been, stuff like that. Um, so it did to me always feel like in One Piece, the old legends are the strongest. Then we kind of had a somewhat more diluted era afterwards, which still had some very strong characters like Shanks, Mihawk, Dragon, of course, but fewer. Like not like you look at fucking the old era Ocean, and it's just, like Rox's God Valley period. It's just like you just look at it, it's like a squad of fucking monsters, right? Like you got Roger, Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom, like Harold's still around, like so much shit, right? And then it feels like you go a little bit further, and then you got the characters that will be the strongest, which is, Luffy and his squad. But it feels like Oda was kind of deciding, like, you know what? Only Luffy's really going to be amazing from the current gen. And then technically Blackbeard, you could argue he's new gen or middle gen or whatever. And then all of Luffy's, literally all of Luffy's other contemporaries are gonna fucking suck. They're gonna suck ass. That's kind of what I feel like Oda decided. I wonder, here's what I think. Random spitball. I know I've got a few supers to catch up with right here. I wonder if, I really, really wonder if, like, Oda, because we talk about, like, shonen tropes and everything like that, right? But a lot of, like, One Piece started, I think, independent of a lot of, like, tropes. I think a lot of the tropes that we see today, I think there's a lot more commonalities between other shonen and like their world structure than One Piece's world structure. Oda's always talked about how he really likes the idea of like middle-aged men being really strong, right? So in One Piece, like Oda introduces his main character Luffy, and he's like, this is gonna be the strongest guy at the end. Like this is my main character. Sorry, my main character. But maybe he also planned that end of story like Shanks, Mihawk, Dragon, these are also going to be like the most significant super strong side characters. Then as the story progressed, unlike in other series where like you have so many contemporaries for the main character that also grow really strong along with him, like in Naruto, like in My Hero, like whatever, that wasn't the case with One Piece. So then maybe at some point Oda was kind of feeling the trends, and he was kind of like, oh, let me throw in some rivals for Luffy. Here's a brother for him, Ace. Okay, but I don't want Luffy to have a rival for too long, so Ace just has to die. Here's some supernovas. Okay, but I don't actually want them to be rivals for Luffy, so they're just going to mostly fucking suck across the board, right? I wonder if that was kind of the mentality, because maybe Oda just always preferred just Luffy and then his middle-aged old men, basically, as his the highlights of his series. Obviously, the Strats are a given. We don't have to talk about the Strats. 8 Gates Productions, thanks for the 2. What's your pitch for a shonen battle manga? I have actually several ideas, but I don't want to share them here because I like the idea of like maybe one day I'll be able to create some sort of story like that. I mean, that is the dream, to be able to create stories myself. So I don't like sharing ideas that I have personally. It feels like if I speak about them, it makes it less likely to be a reality. So maybe you'll see one day. Random guy, thanks to the 2. Prediction, Loki meets and proposes to Lola. Ooh, that's good. I like that. That's one of the big ones that I kind of forgot has to happen. I think we all kind of forgot that has to... Not we all, obviously you didn't. But it's not talked about. I should put your full thing. JV8CJ. I feel like it's something that's easy to... Because other things people called out, right? Like, right off the bat. Loki sets out to sea. There's a conflict with Shanks. He takes the blame for for Harold's death and stuff like that, right? Like, those are things that we kind of know will happen. I think the Loki meeting and proposing to Lola, that's something that's easy to forget because it just feels so fucking bizarre. Considering all the other events, like there's so much serious dramatic event shit that's happening, right? Between the God Valley flashback and then this whole fallout with Harold and Emu and the God's Knights and this tragic battle between Loki and Harold and Loki getting the legendary hammer and eating the legendary world-ending fruit. And now Loki's going to be charged with patricide, and he's going to go rampage through the ocean. He's going to have this clash with Shanks. He's going to be imprisoned in Elbaf. Like, there's so much intense storytelling stuff that's happening in this span of time. It feels fucking bizarre to also remember that, oh yeah, in the middle of all this, Loki's going to fall in love with fucking Lola, of all people, and propose to her. And that's another little thing that's going to happen. I think that's really funny. Aaron Youngblood, thanks for the 2. We get a better explanation for devil fruit weapons. We get a better explanation for devil fruit weapons. Oh, that would be nice. I don't think it'll happen, but that would be nice. Tiptio Treviso, thanks for the 5. If Blackbeard is new gen, then Mihawk, Dragon, Shanks are part of the new gen, like Blackbeard didn't have his balls drop at age 37 or something like that. It's tricky because I view it more so... Okay, I guess if we go by age, then that's fair. I personally view it more so as like... What era did your pirating... Like... Because Whitebeard... Like... Blackbeard is referred to as part of the worst generation, right? He is considered part of the worst generation, right? How old's fucking Capone Beige, you know? Capone Beige is a pretty old dude, right? Capone Beige is 40, right? Or 42, you know? But he's considered part of the worst gen. If we go by just age, I think that that's fair to say Blackbeard is part of the... It's a tricky middle ground, right? Because like it feels like Blackbeard is Shanks' contemporary first and foremost. Feels like he's Shanks' contemporary, but his rise was not during the Great Age of Pirates, right? His rise basically coincided with the end of like Marineford onwards, you know. So the figures that became great during the Great Age of Pirates were Shanks, Mihawk, Dragon from this current era. Loki as well. Now that we know in retrospect, Loki as well. Shanks, Mihawk, Loki, Dragon. Loki, like, that's the other thing. Like, if you go by age, well, Loki was technically from fucking Rox's era, or like Roger's era or something like that, right? Way older than Shanks. Obviously, giants age differently, so it's not a one-to-one comparison. But that, you know, the Great Age of Pirates is where these characters came up. You know, Shanks... Dragon, Blackbeard, not Blackbeard, fuck, now I got myself saying it. Shanks, Dragon, Mihawk, to some degree, Loki, however you want to interpret that, right? So with Blackbeard, he's grouped into the generation that's coming at the transition period, the new age, right? The worst generation are basically figures coming in. They're rookies at the end of the Great Age of Pirates, and the New Age is kind of like them trying to take over the seas, basically, right? So, like, that's what we kind of get with... Like, Blackbeard's rise is post-Marineford. That's when he becomes a Yonko. Marineford, you could argue, is his, like, debut, kind of like... But he's debuting alongside the other supernova, right? It's all happening at the same time, in the span of the same, like, month, basically. So... If we go by ages, then you're right. If we go by how Oda has kind of separated out the eras of pirates, Blackbeard is part of Luffy's era. If we go by ages, Blackbeard is part of Shanks' age, you know? Jordan Vance, thanks for being a member for 10 months, man. A Yonko tier member. I've never seen Law and Kid as rivals since they never stacked up to Luffy. Buggy is a better written rival for Luffy if we're going to be honest. I mean, Oda clearly tried to portray them as rivals. Like, literally... It's said in the story that they're called Luffy's rivals, I think, in the story. So, I don't know. And they're definitely portrayed that way at Sabaody. I don't think you can watch Sabaody and be like, these characters aren't being portrayed as Luffy's rivals. Let's get the stream lights up to 100 real quick. Kid has potential that surpasses Whitebeard, just needs the right mentor. Kid's fruit gives him such insane potential because there's so much that he could do with it, right? Like, what if he took control of an ancient weapon or some shit like that, you know? Someone said, Ray Iwakura says, King AP is consistently here with the worst takes, and King AP responded, someone gotta balance the takes. And Rain says, fair enough. Someone gotta balance the takes. Oh, we cannot see the predictions? Oh my god. Are you guys serious? Have you guys just been letting me do this whole time? Are you guys fucking serious? Are you guys serious? Oh my god, normally you guys call me out on that earlier when I'm making a big stream mistake like that. I've just been typing here like an idiot. I might as well not have been typing anything. What the fuck? My god. God damn, what a terrible stream experience that must have been for you guys. Sorry. I'm sorry. Let's get the streamlights up to 100 real quick. Let's get the streamlights up to 100 because now we can see the screen. Abrahamed says, me and a few others have been spamming it. Not enough. Tom says, Morge, I don't get paid to let you know. Yeah, but you should want to let me know just for your own sake so that you can see it yourself. You've been yapping? That's fair, I have been. Kurakami Najimi says, I wonder how far Morge could get in Call of Duty Zombies. Okay, so fun fact. So growing up, I never had a PlayStation or Xbox. I only had Nintendo and specifically the GameCube. And not because I grew up with the GameCube era. I had the GameCube because my parents didn't want to fucking buy me the Wii. Okay, so I come from an almost no games background growing up, right? And anytime I'd go to a friend's place, I would fucking hate playing shooters with them because, like, I didn't have shooters at home. So we can hop in and play something that they've got, like, 300 hours on in Halo or Call of Duty or something, and I'm just, like, fumbling like an idiot. So I never liked playing shooters, okay? So if I went to a friend's place and they're like, you want to play Call of Duty or Halo or some shit, I might play for, like, a little bit and then be like, yeah, this is not really, I don't really care about this. Now, fast forward to college. So in college, especially freshman year, oh man, freshman year of college was so much fun. That was just like, that was a period where like life just felt very carefree. Just felt very carefree. So freshman year of college, we went through a lot of different games, like just in the hangout room, right? So like one of our friends on the floor, his room became the hangout room, so we'd all go over there to hang out. And we went through various games, FIFA, Smash Bros. Melee. That was my game. That was what I dominated. Mario Kart, and Call of Duty, okay? Call of Duty Zombies became a thing, all right? So Call of Duty Zombies, that was the one that I was by far the worst at, but I found it to be so much fun because I didn't learn much about the other maps. We just played Nuketown, which now I learned is basically like a classic, basic Call of Duty Zombies map or whatever. And that was always fun because like I realized after like we played a bit that I was a huge liability, but it was fun for me because I was a liability that could also drastically affect our effectiveness at getting further in the overall, whatever progress of things. So it was just, for me, it was like peak comedy because people would get frustrated. And like, it'd be like, like you're separated in Nuketown, you're like, one person's over here, and it's like, okay, you just gotta kite your zombies around for however long or whatever, and you're just responsible for your little horde of zombies that's chasing you. And it's like, I'm gonna use the name Morge here, even though that's not my actual name. So then, like, it'd be like, they wouldn't call me this. I'm just replacing this from my actual name. It'd be like, Morge, you good? I'd be like, yeah. Like 30 seconds later, no. And then a rescue mission would have to be sent over to go save me. But I did get better. So I did get better. I don't think I got better at Call of Duty Zombies in general, because later on we would try other maps and it became harder. But I became fine at Nuketown. And I think low-key, the other person in our group who was, like, I think after a certain number of times playing, I had surpassed, in terms of my reliability, the next best person in our group who did grow up playing some shooting games. So I felt good about that. So if I'm given a thing for long enough to get a feel for it, then I can get better. But when we were dropped into other maps, I was like, okay, all my skills are gone. I don't know how to manage this one. I only learned how to play Nuketown. Anyway, Dare Boppler, thanks for the 5. Loki asks Shanks to fight the world government together, but he declines, which is why Loki calls him a coward. When they fight, the hammer refuses to attack Shanks. Oh, shit. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I like this whole thing. Okay. Thanks to fight the world government together, but Shanks declines. The hammer refuses to attack Shanks. Kind of a shitty hammer if it only fights who it wants to fight. Call of Duty is fun, though. Only Nuketown, though. Mord, you got a Pack-a-Punch? Yeah, I remember all the... It was so funny because, like, I just remember, like, when we first started playing, there's so many, like, specific things about, like people are waiting for certain drops. It's like, okay, did we get this gun? Okay, did the set, like, did the item, I forget what it's called, the item box, like, move or whatever, because that teddy bear comes out. It's like, okay, we got to hope that Jug or whatever drops by this time. Okay, we didn't get Jug, we got this other thing or whatever. Like, there were so many little things that they were, like, stressed about, like, is this going to drop, is that going to drop or whatever. And I'm just like, you guys worry about that. I'll focus on you guys worry about the mumbo jumbo, you know? I'll focus on just making sure that I don't die from these zombies or whatever. Don't call it the Hammers. Its name is Ragnar. Put some respect on Ragnar's name. Yeah, you're right. That's true. Did they trust you with the ray gun? I had the ray gun at points. It was also cool, like, because you could get, like, you could save everybody sometimes by getting the nuke thing that killed everybody. There's the one-shot thing. I'm remembering all the little perks now or whatever. Like, one-hit kill zombies and stuff. Save me, Ragnar. This is base Loki we're up against. Okay, how is... Let me see. Hold on a second, everybody. Just wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. Hold on. Okay. All right. Scoutmaster. What is this? Why is this not loading? The full name's not loading. Hold on 1 second. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Scoutmaster Demi Gaming, thanks for the 5. Happy New Year, Morge. I threw down hard for your posters, finally got them. They're amazing. Now I need so many frames, lol. Make poster cards too, please. Okay, so poster cards, that is something that actually is on the agenda. I'm going to jot that down, that you said that. Hold on. That there was a specific request for that, because that is something that we were thinking about. And we were also thinking about doing a calendar for the year. I'm glad you enjoyed the posters. Really glad you enjoyed the posters. Everybody that gets the posters really, really likes them. The frames, I would recommend trying to get these type of frames, because these type of frames are really easy to set up. I found it very easy for me to swap the posters, because it's magnetic strips at the top and bottom. Magnetic strips at the top and bottom. It just makes it very easy to swap things. So let me see if I can find that for you. I'm not doing... You guys might be expecting me to drop a poster promotion right here, right? But I think that our promotion... We extended the promotion a little bit. How long did we extend it to? We extended the promotion... We extended to January Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry. This is. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit out of the loop myself. We extended the poster promotion to literally today. So we extended it to today. Hold on. Yeah. If you want to get the deal, I'm not going to make a huge thing out of it. You guys know it at this point. If you want to get the deal of buy 2 posters, get 4 free, buy 2, get any 4 free, you can get that right now. It is literally only till today. Yeah, it should end shortly. It ends in 6 hours and 34 minutes, so I suggest you guys get it. You guys will find out the reason that we extended it, partly because people asked, but also there's another reason that we extended it that you guys will find out next week. Because it was supposed to end this last Tuesday. So now it's ending for real. Just as a reminder, yeah, I'll pin this. Yeah, you can buy 2, get any 4 free, extended deal. And there's 2 posters. I will show you guys this. There's 2 posters that do go away, so I'll warn you guys about that. The Dami Reversied Rocks and the Skypea Going Merry, these are gone forever after this. These are gone forever. So just a heads up, if you want to get the posters, get those. All right. That ad on the last vid still had December, says King AP. Yeah, that was a mistake. We decided to push the promotion a little bit further, but we didn't change the editing on it, which we should have done. But yeah, the promotion does end after literally today. So 6 hours basically, midnight. 6.5 hours. Always with the next week / video. Yeah, because that's what makes sense. All right, guys, I am going to probably have to wrap stream a little bit soon. Let me just see what the deal is here. Hold on. Yeah, you see this? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I'll probably wrap stream shortly. Taptir Trevisa, thanks for the 2. How is the Blackbeard mythical Zoan theory going for you? Listen, I'm really hoping. There's two parts to this. So I said before that if Loki has this crazy powerful Zoan, then that means Blackbeard would likely kill him to take that Zoan. And that's likely what Loki is introduced to the story. Okay, that was my theory. I said it's either that or Blackbeard kills Emu, takes Emu's fruit, and becomes the final villain. So it's two potentialities right there, right? I do not see any other angle for what other fruit Blackbeard could possibly get than Loki's Zoan, or Emu Zoan. Those are the only 2 super special Zoan fruits that exist out there in One Piece that are treated as like extraordinary and really, really legendarily powerful. Okay? So it's one of those 2 fruits. Before, I said that if Loki does have a super special fruit, I lean towards Blackbeard killing him and eating it. Now, I still think that's possible. I just really fucking hope it doesn't happen. I'm now putting my chips into, I hope that Blackbeard kills Emu, Blackbeard takes Emu's fruit, Blackbeard becomes the final villain through that method. Hold on. Let me send this message. Hold on. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to wrap stream in the next few minutes, if that's good, everybody. Because, I mean, besides that, I don't know, like, who else's fruit, what other fruit, because keep in mind, so far Oda has only given Blackbeard super, super strong fruit, like, legendary fruits, basically, right? So, 1, he got the Yami Yami no Mi, which is supposedly the most powerful devil fruit, right? So, Blackbeard got that. So, he already got supposedly the most powerful devil fruit, the one that is said to be the strongest, right? Beats all other devil fruits, too. 2, he got the Guruguru no Mi, which is established to be the most destructively powerful devil fruit, the fruit that can destroy the world, right? So these are 2 fruits already that Blackbeard has that are treated as legendary or especially important devil fruits, even by the standard of like strong devil fruits, right? These are like one of a kind, like exalted fruits in terms of their significance in the story, right? The third fruit will likely be the kicker, but potentially the most important of them all, right? Probably a zone. The only really, really powerful zones that we know of, like there's plenty of powerful zones like Kaido's fruit, Marco's fruit, etc. But in terms of like legendary, like exceptionally super duper important, like distinctly important, it's just Luffy's Zoan, likely Emu's Zoan, we can assume. And then Rox was talking about 2 fruits that together could destroy the world. And Blackbeard might already have maybe one of them's the Yami Yami Nui, maybe one's the Nika fruit. So really it's just the Elbaf fruit that's like that final missing piece. So it's like, fuck, is Blackbeard going to kill Loki, take his fruit? I don't know. I hope not, because I like Loki so much as a character at this point. Meek, thanks to the 5. Only thing that's weird is that Blackbeard just happened to have an Elbafian zone would just seem... Is that Blackbeard just happening to have an Elbafian zone would just seem thematically out of place? Yeah, especially if it's like the Fenrir fruit. It's like, I don't really think of Blackbeard like that. But maybe Oda could make it work. If it's like the Jormungandr or something like that, like then I think that could fit the MO. It would just be really bizarre if Blackbeard just has this random Norse mythology fruit. So I don't know. But then it's just like, what's the last fruit Blackbeard's going to get? I hope it's Emu's Zoan, if that's the case, you know? If it's not Loki's fruit, I hope it's Emu's. But then that raises the question, like, what is, how important is Loki going to be in the grand scheme of things? Because if Blackbeard's not going to kill him, then Loki's just this truly extraordinarily powerful character who's going to be on the protagonist's side, who's being introduced at the climax of the story as an ally to Luffy. So it's just bizarre. Like, what would Loki's role be then? Because that's just really, really, really hard to pin down. You've got a character who has, like, top-tier Conqueror's Haki, right? Like, top-tier Conqueror's Haki, the most physically strong character in One Piece, right? No character is surviving that fall literally as a one-day-old baby, right? So Loki's the physically strongest character we've ever had in One Piece. Physically strongest character in One Piece, top-tier Conqueror's Haki, legendary hammer that is more powerful, significantly more powerful than Enel's Gorogoro no Mi, which we already thought is maybe the strongest Logia, besides the Yami Yami no Mi, right? And then on top of that, Loki has this fucking, like, fruit that can supposedly destroy the world. So, and he's got direct beef with Emu after this whole Herald incident, beef with Emu and the Celestial Dragons, beef with Shamrock. He's said to be a really important character in the story. I'm just shocked that we're getting such an important character this late in the story. I thought that Oda might just kill him, right? Kill him, sacrificial lamb or something, but I don't know. Dare Boppler, and this will probably be my last super. Thanks for the 5-man. I just realized since Vegapunk can give devil fruits to weapons, they could effectively get a Zoro with 4 different fruits, making him top 1 strongest instantly. I don't think Zoro would like that, though. I don't think that fits who he wants to be. Zoro, like, if he really wanted to have a devil fruit, he could have had one a long time back. He could have killed Mr. One and just taken his fruit. He could have killed Kaku and taken his fruit. Like, he's had plenty of opportunities to kill somebody and take their fruit. He just doesn't do that. All right, everybody, I am going to have to wrap it up here. I know a little bit earlier than expected. That's why I was trying to start stream a little bit earlier. This Monday, we are doing 2026 bingo. We're going to look at what we got right from 2025 bingo, and then we're going to do our 2026 bingo. So watch out for this Monday, this Monday stream. This will be the last Tuesday video for a while, and then we're going to start switching to a Saturday video schedule, and we're going to try that out for a bit. So this next Tuesday, last Tuesday video. So watch out for that. And yeah, thanks everybody for tuning in. This was a fun stream. Yeah, new year ahead. We're kicking it off with next week's stream. So with, Taptio Treviso, thanks to the 2. Loki will be part of Emu's defeat, then be a Blackbeard victim. Oh, you're saying first that, and then he's a Blackbeard victim? But I feel like if Blackbeard's killing somebody at the end to get the last fruit, it would be Emu himself, right? Loki could have a tragic end. I just really fucking hope he doesn't. I like the character a lot now. I like him. I've grown attached to him. It was easy. Put it this way. It's easy to make theories about, like, oh, this character is going to get killed or whatever when we're first meeting the character. And then once we get to know the character a little bit, it's like, I really hope this character doesn't get killed. It's easy to write off characters for dead before you get emotionally attached to them. You know what I mean? All right, everybody.